Good day, students. My name is Marlies Els, and I will be dealing with our third and final video on where we discuss assignment 2. We will look at required number D. So in our previous videos, we dealt with required A in the first video and required B and C in the second video. And in this video, we will deal with required D, which deals with leases. So if we just quickly have a look at what the required says, the required says, just give me 1 second quickly. So the required says to prepare all of the general journal entries in the accounting records of Chickfeed Limited to correctly account for the lease agreement and the lease asset for the year ended 28 February 2025. So we are dealing with leases, and in 2601 we are dealing with leases from the lessee perspective. In your third year, in Fact 3764, you will deal with leases from a lessor perspective. So if we then go to the given information, we're not going to read through all of the other information again. We've dealt with that in the first two videos. We will only focus on the lease agreement section. If we just read through this, the information says that Chickfeed decided to install a solar energy system at their manufacturing property. This will be done through a lease agreement. The lease agreement was signed and the solar system installed on the 1st of March 2024, and the terms of the agreement are as follows. The lease period is 6 years. Annual payments of 132,000 paid in advance and with an interest rate of 9.85%. Contract initiation and admin fees to finalize the agreement amounted to 4,500 Rand. The fees were paid in cash on signing of the lease agreement. The solar system was available for use as intended by management on 1 April 2024. It had an estimated useful life of 6 years and no residual value was allocated to it. The lease does not include any options to extend or terminate the lease, and ownership of the solar system will not transfer to Chickfeed at the end of the lease term. So that is the information relating to our lease. If we then just quickly discuss through it, we are seeing that the lease was signed on the 1st of March 2024, which is the beginning of our current financial year. Remember, the question asked us to prepare only the journals relevant for the current financial year. In this case, it would also mean that first, where we first recognize the lease, but it is possible that your lease was signed in a prior year, and when the question asks only for the current year information, then the initial recognition of the lease and the right of use asset would not be required. In saying that, you will not be penalized. So if you include a journal that is not required, you will not be negatively marked, but you will be penalized in the sense that you are losing time writing information that's not required. So always read your required very carefully to ensure that you only ask what is required. Like I said, you won't necessarily be penalized with negative marking if you include something, but you are penalizing yourself with spending time on writing down information or writing down answers that is not required for a specific question. So just keep a lookout for that. But like I said, in this case, the actual lease starts at the beginning of my current financial year. We are given the lease period of 6 years. We are told it's an annual payments of 132,000 and it's paid in advance. Why is this important? Because it will have an impact on how you set up your financial calculator. It will have an impact on interest, the calculation of interest and so forth. So it can either be paid in advance or it can be paid at the end of the year. That will just determine settings on your financial calculator, and you are given your interest rate. Then also important, we are told there's contract initiation and admin fees to finalize the agreement, and that is 4,500 Rand. So what does this mean? We must then determine whether this must be capitalized to the cost of the right of use asset or not. Then it says the solar system was available for use as intended by management on the 1st of April 2024, and it had an estimated useful life of 6 years. So if we look at this, we can see that the lease period is the same period as the useful life of the asset. And if we then go back to all of the requirements of whether it's a lease or not, in this case, we are told it is a lease. It is a lease agreement. So it is not an issue in this case, but if you were to discuss whether this can be classified as a lease or not, you can see that the lease period is the same as useful life of the asset. So then that means Chick Feed is using this asset for the majority of the asset's economic life. Okay, so let's then go to our calculations. This is a very basic, very straightforward lease question. There isn't any tricks in here. There isn't any specific triggers in here. It is just straightforward. All you need to remember is how do I measure and how will I recognize this lease? If we go to the calculations, theory tells us we need to first calculate the present value of the lease liability. So you need to remember the question asks, prepare all of the relevant journal entries in the accounting records for the year ended 28 February 2025. So that means anything that happens from the 1st of March 2024 up until 28 February 2025. Anything that is relevant in this period, we must account for in these journals. Like we've said previously, the lease agreement was signed on the 1st of March. So that means that it also still falls within this period. So we need to provide the journal where we recognize the lease initially in our financial records as well. And then there are specific steps to follow. What is that? So we need to account for the lease agreement. So we need to account for a lease liability because we owe someone money. Then we're getting also the right to use an asset. So we need to recognize a right of use asset. How do we measure those? So we need to get, first of all, we need to get the present value of our lease liability on the 1st of March. How do we calculate that? The lease liability is initially measured at commencement date at the present value of all of the unpaid lease payments on this date. In other words, it would exclude any lease payments that are paid in advance or had been prepaid. Okay, so that means we need to calculate a present value for our lease. How do we calculate that? We need to use the present value function on our financial calculators. So there are a variety of financial calculators that you can use. I think the most popular is the HP 10B2, and then there's also the Sharp financial calculator. Doesn't matter what calculator you use, you need to just make sure that you know how your calculator works, and with your specific calculator that you know how the settings work, how you need to input your information into the financial calculator. For marking purposes, what is important to us is what you write down. You need to write down everything that you input into your financial calculator because that is all that we can see. We cannot see how you do the calculation, but you need to show us that into my financial calculator, I am putting that the period, the lease period, because what is N? N is my lease period, or the number of payments that I'm going to make. In this case, it's yearly payments, and we were told the lease period is 6 years. So therefore, N is 6. The question also states that our interest rate is 9.85%. Therefore, I will input into my financial calculator an interest rate of 9.85%. And then the question says it's yearly payments of 132,000 Rand. Therefore, I have a payment of 132,000 Rand. And if you input all of this into your financial calculator, you should get a present value of 634,307 Rand. So this is the present value of my lease agreement. So that was step one. Step one is to calculate the value of the lease agreement. Then step two is now we need to calculate the cost of the right of use asset. How do we calculate that? If we take a look at the theory tells us that a right of use asset is initially measured at its cost where the cost includes the following: the initial measurement of the lease liability. So what is that? That is that cost that we've calculated there. Any lease payments made on or before commencement date, any initial direct cost incurred by the lessee, and any provisions for any future cost to dismantle and remove the underlying asset, restore the site on which it was situated, or restore the asset to a predetermined condition. And then lastly, less any lease incentives. So how do I calculate the right of use asset? The cost of the right of use asset, I take my initial measurement of the lease agreement. So I take my present value of my lease agreement. Then I need to have a look at, are there any payments that were made on or before commencement date? In this case, no, there were not. So remember I said earlier, this is actually a very straightforward lease agreement, but you will have to check, is there any payments that are made on or before commencement date? Is there any initial direct costs? In this scenario, we were told that there were initiation and admin fees to the value of 4,500 Rand. So is that a direct cost? Yes, it is, because it is a cost that was needed we needed to incur the cost in order to sign the lease agreement. So therefore you will see that we include the 4,500 Rand here. Theory also says we include any provision for future cost to dismantle or remove the asset, restore the asset to a predetermined condition. In this case, there is no such costs. Once again, it's a very straightforward lease. There are no such costs involved. So there's nothing to add there. And then it says less any lease incentives received. We did not receive any lease incentives, so there is nothing to deduct. So in this case, the only costs that are involved is my present value of my lease agreement and the initiation and admin cost of 4,500 Rand. So that would give me a total cost for my right of use asset as 638,307 Rand. Now I can go and I can journalize, I can recognize the journal for the initial accounting of this lease agreement. So remember when I did video 2, I said to you, when you when you do disclosures, the moment you've done a calculation and you are able to go and disclose that information, go and put it in there, because that is where your marks are awarded. Marks are awarded only once you've answered the question. So in this case, the question asks you to prepare the relevant journal entries. So if you only have calculations but no journal entries, you haven't answered the question yet. So therefore, we cannot award you any marks. So you've now calculated the present value of the lease. You have the cost of the right of use asset. So you can go and you can provide the journal 1. So what does journal 1 look like? We need to recognize the asset. We need to recognize the lease liability. And then we also need to remember that we had a payment of 4,500 Rand that we made in cash. So what would we do? We will debit our right of use asset. Remember, we need to recognize this asset. And what is it? We don't recognize a solar system. We recognize a right to use the solar system. Right of use asset. What is the cost of the asset? We've calculated that as the 638,000. Oh, I think there's a typing error. That must be 807, not 307. So it's 638,807 Rand. Then we can recognize our lease liability. The lease liability was calculated as 634,307 Rand. So we credit our lease liability with the 634,307 Rand. And then lastly, just remember we paid cash for that admin fee. So therefore, we're going to credit our bank account with the 4,500 Rand. And there we have accounted for the right of use asset and the lease liability. But we are not done yet, because you need to remember that we need to recognize interest, because interest has accumulated for the year. We need to recognize the interest, and we also need to recognize the depreciation on the right of use asset, and that all happens at the end of the financial year. How do I do that? Then let's look at my finance cost. You can do this calculation or you can use the amortization tables. If you make use of the amortization tables, you can just write them down to show what was the payment, what was the interest, what was your balance at the end of the year, or you can say with the HP, you can just put shift inputs and then you will get a value. But once again, if that's a method you follow, you need to show specifically what buttons you pushed to get to that answer. But otherwise, you can also just use, like I said, the straightforward calculation. Okay, so then what does the journal look like? I need to recognize my financial cost. So I'm going to debit financial cost. I'm going to credit the lease liability. Because remember, the interest hasn't been paid yet, but it has accumulated for the year. It will only be paid once I make that payment of 132,000. Remember, we said initially our payments are made in advance, so it's made at the beginning of the year. So one payment was made already on the 1st of March when we signed the lease agreement. So that's why you will see we take the present value of the lease minus our 132, which was our payment that we made in advance, and then multiply it with the interest rate of 9.85%. So that will give me interest for the year of 49,477 Rand. So like I said already, the interest has not been paid yet. It has just accumulated for the year. So that's why I credit my lease liability. I debit finance cost because I need to account for the interest for the year. It has not been paid yet. So therefore, I credit my lease liability because it's now going to lie against the lease liability. And then the moment that I pay the 132,000, then that will be set off against the lease liability. So that is the recognition of my finance cost for the year. Then the last journal we need to do is we need to recognize depreciation for the year on the right of use asset. What does that look like? It is straightforward, just like we would normally calculate depreciation on a normal asset. We have the cost of the asset. The cost of my asset is 638,807 Rand. That is that we've calculated up here. Then the useful life of the asset is 6 years because the lease agreement and the useful life of the asset are both 6 years. Just remember, it is possible that there can be a difference between my lease term and my useful life of my asset. Just go back to your theory, go back to the study guide, go back to your online lesson, and just refresh your memory of what happens in a scenario where there's a difference between the useful life of the asset and the useful life of the lease liability, because there are then different scenarios where it will tell you, do you use the amount for the lease agreement or do you use the useful life of the asset? So just keep a lookout for that. Then the question said to us that the asset was available for use. If we go back, you will see the asset was available for use as intended by management on the 1st of April 2024. So that's why we calculate the depreciation only for 11 months. So remember, the asset depreciation starts when the asset is available for use. Okay, so just again, the cost of the asset divided by the total useful life and the period that it was available for use. Then what would my journals be? I will debit the depreciation on the right of use asset, which is the profit and loss account, 106,468 Rand. I will credit accumulated depreciation on the right of use asset, which is my statement of financial position account, and then also 106,468 Rand. And that is it for required number D. It is as easy and as simple as that. I'm not going to go through required E. It's very straightforward. You just need to know what you've calculated, all of the figures in your required A to D, and then you just need to know where to slot them in. And so your suggested solution will be straightforward in assisting you in answering that question. So that is it for assignment number 2. Good luck for the exam. I hope these videos assisted you and guided you a little bit to explain some of the issues in the assignment. If there was anything that's unclear that you did not understand, hopefully you've got some more clarity on that now. Good luck in your preparations for the exam. Focus on exam technique, focus on your time management. Time management normally is an issue for students. We are already very generous with the time allocated. We have already received feedback from external moderators that we are too generous with the time that we allow for exams. So we cannot provide more time. What I would suggest is when you work through questions, work through them under a time limit, work through them under exam conditions. So what does that mean? That means that the same scenario or environment that you would have when you are writing your exam, you need to have that same environment when you work through these questions. So that means I don't have a suggested solution with me. I don't have textbooks or study material with me, and I've got a strict time limit. So how does it work? It works out at 2 minutes per mark. That is how your time is calculated, your time allowed for an exam, 2 minutes per mark. So set your timer. So in this case, I think it was a 50-mark question. So then you would say 50 marks times 2 minutes. So you would have 100 minutes for this question. Set your timer. Don't look at the suggested solution and then try to work through the question. The moment the timer goes off, then you stop writing. Then take your suggested solution and then you mark your attempt. Mark it honestly. Especially when you get to the discussion questions. Did you really address or answer what was required? Because a lot of the times we will get emails or communication from students that say, but mine is very similar to what you have, but I have very few marks. But if you look at all honesty, it's not the same. Very similar is not the same. It is possible that you went in the wrong direction. It's possible that you addressed the incorrect issues. So when you mark your own work, be honest and really try to understand why there are differences. Try to understand if we say X and you say Y. Why are we saying X? Because that will also identify if you've got any gaps in your knowledge. If I look at just that required D, direct cost, if we included direct cost and you did not include direct cost, try to figure out, but why did you not? Go back to the theory. What does the theory say? What is the definition of the, or not definition, but what is the initial measurement of a right of use asset? What does theory say? Then try to determine why did we include the 4,500? Oh, but it's actually an initial direct cost and I must include that. Maybe it's something that you just forgot. If you really can't figure out why there's a difference, contact your lecturers, send us an email, ask us, why did you do this? I don't understand. I did it this way. Why did you do it this way? And then we can explain to you the theory behind why we did something in a specific way. Be honest with yourself in your preparations for the exam. And honestly, I cannot stress it enough. You need to practice your time. You can't spend 5 hours on a 1-hour question paper when you prepare and then expect to be able to do it in the exam in the allowed time. So really try. Time management is a skill that you need to practice. So I cannot emphasize it enough. Really, really focus on that and focus on your exam technique. And when it comes to the upload of your answers, the moment, remember there's 30 minutes for upload. Do not take that 30 minutes and use it as writing time, because it does happen that the system is then slower, or you experience issues with your scanning app or your scanner or whatever, and then it takes extra time. We can see, remember that we receive after an assignment or after an exam, we receive multiple emails from students to say, but there was a system issue or whatever. And then when we actually go online, we can track the logs. So we can see the student or the activities of each student online. So we can actually track your activity logs on the system. And then when we have a look at those activities, it is actually very clear that a student may be only logged on 1 minute before the portal closed, where in actual fact you should the moment your writing time is up, you should put your pen down and you need to start scanning and uploading your answer, because that 30 minutes is not for, because actually technically you get 45 minutes extra because you get 15 minutes to download the paper. And if there are any issues, we can sort it out within that 15 minutes. But it's very seldom that there is issues with that. So you get 15 minutes and then you get your 30 minutes for upload. So there's 45 minutes extra. For all of the technical things. So be strict with yourself, with your time. And I've seen it so many times on Telegram as well, where students say they've learned this the hard way, that they rather submit an unfinished paper and ensure that they actually submit something rather than running out of time. So after your 30 minutes, submit it, scan it, submit, and you know your question paper is there. Because please keep in mind, and we get this with the assignments as well, we can't, we can only mark what we are sent to mark by the exam department, the Department of Students Assessment and Administration. We are not responsible for the management of the systems. We're not responsible for the management of the uploads. We're not responsible for the management of the Invigilator app. So remember, the Invigilator app is used for proctoring only. It is not an official UNISA submission portal. The only official UNISA submission portal is CAS My Exam. So your core answer paper must be uploaded there. With assignments, we were told very specifically they cannot send us the assignment submitted on the Invigilator app. It is only those submitted on CAS My Exams. So what happens in an exam, we cannot tell you beforehand, but for assignments, we were very specifically told that neither IT nor DSAA can send us those because it's not on the system. Remember, it's a separate software, it's a separate tool from a third party that UNISA pays for the students to use. It is not a UNISA system. So I cannot emphasize it enough to ensure that your script is uploaded on CAS My Exams. Other than that, if you need any assistance during your preparations, feel free to send us an email, ask us, and we will assist you as best as we can. Good luck for your preparations for the exam, and we really do hope that everything goes well.